Hello everyone, I'm Lonnie.
I'm Amberlicious.
I'm Single Sarah.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux out of Hickson, Tennessee. And this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe review of Captain America Civil War. Why did I almost say Westworld?
We were just talking about
That would have been absolutely horrible and embarrassing. This is not... Dang it, I don't have the number on the description. Of course I don't.
It's number 65.
No, this is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 14 or 15. Wait. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to talk about Captain America Civil War, which is the third and latest Captain America movie.
Mm-hmm.
If the rumors are to be believed, the last. Dun, dun,
dun. No, it's not the last. He's in Infinity War.
The Captain America movie. Captain America, the first Avenger. Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Well, okay, but we've already discussed how even though this is Captain America Civil War, it's really an Avengers movie.
Yeah, it's the Avengers 2.5.
So.
I mean, it might as well be. I mean, yeah, Captain America was like the central guy in this movie, but...
Oh, yeah, it was definitely advanced to the storyline the most.
I saw someone said that he hadn't renewed his contract.
I don't know. I think they're probably going to be keeping all that under wraps just so nobody...
can guess what's going to happen. Yeah.
Now, this really revolves around him basically trying to protect Bucky, who was the Winter Soldier in the second movie and his, childhood friend from the first one.
Who's really my favorite. I love Bucky.
Very, very conflicted character and like a victim all the way around.
I know. I love a man that's the victim.
I mean, I totally get that. I like him. I like him as a character. Really, really rooting for him, and it's like one of those that almost gives you like goosebumps when him and Captain America team up.
Oh yeah.
And I think him and Cap, they have really good chemistry on screen, and I think that they make a better team than Captain America and Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, by far they've explored that a lot more because Iron Man's not really a team player. He's basically there to tell people what to do, and that's pretty much he's too full of himself.
He tells people what to do and likes making everything look good. I mean, he's a showman.
I'm not really a big fan of if you notice he brought Spider-Man into the fight, and I mean Spider-Man's technically a kid still. He's probably not even old enough to drive. And, he's got that going on. He brings Spider-Man in.
Why do you think he did that? Or is there a reason why he did that?
Ace up his sleeve. He didn't. I mean, you never know. He may have known. He probably knew a lot more about Peter Parker than they even brushed, across in this movie. And he probably sees a bit of himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean,
True.
I don't know. I mean, this is actually a good movie because the second half of the movie, we actually saw a lot of Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And,
we know how much Lonnie likes seeing a lot of Peter in a movie.
I wonder if
Mary... You made that joke and walked into it.
I'm very curious in, Spider-Man Homecoming. We're going to be watching that April 20th, which will be Friday night.
I can't freaking wait.
I really, because I've really avoided spoilers for this movie so well, and I'm really curious if Mary Jane is going to be in it. Because Mary Jane likes Peter, too.
If you don't quit with that, I ain't playing with you today. Devasa, you asked how I'm doing. Well, I'm actually doing just great. Just
as well as can be expected since she's with Lonicus.
That goes both ways.
I'm just kidding.
You started it. You started it.
But I mean, at the same time, Peter loves Mary Jane.
And we're going to be watching it on 420.
Touche! Touche!
Well, wowzers.
Okay.
So, like, with the Spider-Man movies, they're all of him as, like, an adult. Why? So, I guess this one's kind of, like, backwards?
Non-canon.
What?
Let's just act like all those other movies don't exist.
Yeah.
Those were movies. Like, so Sony is still reaping the benefits without really having to put in a lot of effort.
Influential, so
Oh,
you
of
can't
course.
really fault him for
Tony
that.
Stark's like a hero to him.
And he eventually, I mean, they're all going to come together, obviously,
Yeah.
in Infinity War for the main cause. So friends fight sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how it is.
They did, and I always have to compare the movie to the comics. This movie wasn't quite as good as the comics, but I think giving, the movie having an hour and a half, 2 hours to tell the story, they did as good as they could have done.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the comic book, it all began with, there was this team, I think it was called the New Warriors, and it was like a bunch of young kids, like in their teens, early 20s, inexperienced, low-level heroes, and they were going up against a group that was a little bit out of their league, and it was actually, they had a reality TV crew following them around, watching their battles and stuff, and there was a guy called Nitro who could explode. That was like his power. He could explode really big, and the battle somehow ended up in front of an elementary school, and one of the new warriors held Nitro up against a school bus full of children, and Nitro exploded and killed something like 120 kids.
Boy, but that made your freaking day.
And that is what really ignited everybody wanting the heroes to register and stuff. And of course, Iron Man was for it. Captain America was against it. The scene in Captain America, The Winter Soldier, where he's on the elevator with everybody, and that little battle happens. There's actually a really cool scene in the comics where Captain America is on a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and the Maria Hill, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., is standing there telling him, hey, I'm giving you this one last chance to surrender, and he basically tells her to screw off, and he actually busts through the glass in the side of the helicarrier, lands on a jet, and basically tells the pilot, hey, at ease, you're going to let me down.
Lord.
It was really neat. Of course, they probably they could have done that, but they didn't. But, no, I mean, adapting this to the Bucky situation and that whole storyline, they did an excellent job. And then including Black Panther, we got to see him for the first time. We got to see Spider-Man for the first time. We actually got to see Ant-Man in a continuation of the last movie we watched. He ends up on,
Which I must say, because, we watched this in theaters and I didn't watch, Ant-Man.
Yes.
And this made the Ant-Man scene better.
Yeah.
Watching Ant-Man first. So there's that.
Yeah, because you watched it too without seeing Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So
would you agree that watching Civil War a second time made Ant-Man even better?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny too because, to those not in the loop, what was it, about a month ago? Sarah watched Civil War.
Yeah.
We had just finished Captain America or maybe the Avengers.
No, I think it was Captain America.
Okay.
We finished it and finished it.
Sarah either calls me or sends me a message and is like, I'm watching Civil War. And I'm like, that's a really bad idea, Sarah, because you're 8 movies behind right now. And so she keeps on. And I'm getting these messages over the next 2 hours. And she's like, who's this woman? And who are these people? I didn't know Spider-Man was in the movie. Where'd he come from?
Yeah.
And who's this guy that can get really big? And all this. And I'm like, I was like, that's what you get. That's what you get for skipping ahead. That's not right.
Funny. That's what
you don't
you
need
get
to
for
do that
skipping
anymore. Please.
But yeah.
But anyway, I guess so.
There we go.
Craziness.
But anyway, watching this again for the second time. Well, actually, this is my third time watching it. But it has me more pumped for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I wanted to watch it anyway, but I really want to watch it now, and I can't wait.
I'll say that the movie, this movie in theaters, it is even to me, and I was totally caught up when we watched it in theaters for the first time a couple of years ago, and this movie is a lot better the second time. I can't really explain why.
It's just a good movie.
It really is.
This is a movie I could watch over and over again.
Yeah. Because there's so much going on,
It is
and there's so
really
many
good
characters.
movie.
I will.
And they're all in conflict with each other. And, when you're watching it the first time, you don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know if I want to call this the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie ever so far, but I will say that the battle scene where Spider-Man first appears and they're at the airport, that whole battle scene from start to finish is the best
really
battle
good.
scene, almost hands down, in any movie I've ever seen.
It's so good.
Like, I think probably the only thing better is maybe some of the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah.
This is easily the best Marvel battle ever.
And
Because-
the commentary that's going back and forth between the characters, this is great.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man. The fact that
He just wants to freaking talk to everybody because he's so excited.
well, that's how he is in the comics.
That is how he is in comics.
He's known
so.
as like the one who makes jokes and carries on, and
He's very lighthearted person.
like for example, there was a time where like I don't know if you've ever like seen Green Goblin in Spider-Man comics, but he flies around on that glider and he has like this, it looks almost like a purple purse that he carries with him, but it's full of these little pumpkin bombs that he throws at people.
It's been so long since I've watched all that too.
Well, he doesn't have it in the movies, but in the comics he
Not
Not
has
in
that.
the TV show?
And
Not in the TV show? I used to watch
yes,
the
he
TV
did.
shows.
He had it in the
That's
TV
what I
show.
was
It's the exact same
thinking.
thing. And so there was about a 30 or 40 issue span in Marvel where Dr. Octopus actually took over Peter Parker's body for like 30 issues, and it was an amazing story. And there is a part where Green Goblin takes over the city, and Peter, like Dr. Octopus, realizes that he doesn't have the expertise to beat Green Goblin, and so he goes into this machine and gives Peter his body back. So there's a part where Green Goblin pops up after he's already beat Doc Ock's ass like twice already, and he was like, oh Octavius, I'm not gonna mess with you. You're not even worth my time. And so like Spider-Man hops up. He was like, hey, he's like, I can't really think of anything else to say besides I really love your man purse. And Green Goblin like gets this, like, he has a mask on, but you could tell like this realization's dawned over him, and he was like, it is you. Like he knew right away with like the quips and all the jokes and stuff that yep, that's Peter.
Ashley wants to know if we've watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet.
I haven't watched it.
I watched.
To be honest, I have no interest in it.
It was really good, in my opinion, until the Inhumans started really coming in, and they started doing all the extra stuff. Once the Inhumans became a regular part of it, I just faded out. But I've also heard that over the past season or two, they brought in Ghost Rider and
cool.
all kinds of other stuff.
I like Ghost Rider. I don't care what anybody says.
From what I understand, they had a lot of complaints about Ghost Rider because they didn't bring in motorcycle Ghost Rider. They brought in the Ghost Rider that drove the muscle car. And everybody was really wanting to see Ghost Rider.
Yeah, of course.
But there was...
gosh, she says shame.
It's
not everybody's cup of tea, man.
Our schedule is so busy that could you imagine what it would be like if we were to add Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to our already packed schedule? That's like 25 episodes a season.
Again, it's also something I have no interest in. So
25 episodes in one season?
Roughly, yeah.
Wow.
Like anywhere from 20 to 27. It's like right in that area, you know. It's a good, solid, scheduled TV show. But I mean, I liked it. And it's probably like Fear the Walking Dead. It started out really good. It kind of fell into a lull, and then it got good again. But by that time, I had already fell out of it.
true. True.
I try.
Oh well.
Oh, yeah, that is Ashley. Speaking of, Ashley will
yeah,
Well, nah. It's another
be...
Ashley.
Well, I don't...
Dude.
Like, I had comic books on the brain. I'm just going.
Okay.
Ashley will be joining us tomorrow night on Saturday Night Crew.
Yay.
She is bringing the Switch, and for the first time, we're going to play the Switch on
so
UNN.
excited.
And we're going to be playing, I think she said she has 2 controllers, so we'll be swapping out here and there, playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I think the second half, I kind of had it lined up for us to play Little Big Planet 4-player on the PlayStation 4. We'll see how long it takes for us to want to kill everybody. Each other, I mean.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That game can be very frustrating because you have to work together.
Yes, you have to work together. Not big on it, but I guess that's what we're playing.
It'll be fun for the viewers.
Well, man, I guess that's all that matters. As long as it's fun for them.
It did a job of bringing in the Sokovian Accords, hence the Civil War review. I'm not really...
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, the Sokovian Accords were like the thing in, that was like the whole ruling.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But I'm not really sure if I'm picking up on her civil. Okay, I don't know. She gonna have to explain that one a little bit more. I'm okay. Maybe I'm just easily confused tonight.
Maybe. But anyway, is there anything else to cover on this?
This
We
movie
talked
really
about the
sets
battle
up.
scene. We talked about Spider-Man, Black Panther.
We got to see.
Hold on, what you got?
What's his name? Iron Man's best friend.
Rhodes.
I always forget his name.
War Machine.
James
Oh.
Rhodes.
So,
Rhodey.
what happens to him going forward, or does anything happen?
We haven't seen him
since-
yet.
Yeah, we've not
He
seen
hasn't
him
appeared
yet.
in any more movies.
So, I'm wondering.
No, we don't know. We haven't seen him in any more movies.
I mean, no matter how bad he's hurt or whatever. I mean, crap. We got Winter Soldier who's walking around with a bionic arm. Tony Stark for a while had a artificial glowing heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be all right.
See, that's what I was wondering, and if they would make some kind of special suit.
I mean, his best friend at the beginning of the movie was wearing a pair of $711 million glasses during that little virtual reality thing with his
Yeah.
parents. Speaking of, they did a really good job of making Robert Downey Jr. young again in that little scene.
I know, right?
Yes, they did. Oh my
I was like,
god,
that's awesome.
They, I was really a big fan of that. I'm a real big fan of any time they explore the relationship between Tony Stark and Howard Stark, his father. Anytime they explore that past, the fact that they made Bucky as the Winter Soldier be the one who killed his dad. Because like the last part of that whole thing, that whole battle right there at the end, Tony Stark was just full of
Rage.
unadulterated,
Yeah.
pure rage,
Revenge.
where he was just wanting to kill Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care,
So
He
much
killed his mom.
conflict.
I mean,
and his dad.
well, that's why he didn't care two shits about his dad, obviously, because he just stayed at his mother.
He cared about his dad.
He cared about his dad. Their relationship was very strained.
Well, he was like that rich
So-
working dad that never really had a lot of time for it. Like, loved his son, but never...
I would
Spent-
say it was he had the rich dad that never spent time. I mean, you saw how he acted towards him when he was doing that,
that video
simulation.
of the World of Tomorrow.
And that's probably how he grew up.
Yeah. There was probably very little affection there,
Mhm.
and he was probably he was probably treated more like
I mean, that's probably the reason Tony's the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Think so?
Yeah, I know so.
But yeah, I mean this movie was great. Like,
What happens to Tony and Captain America in the comics after they've had like that battle? Because I know Captain wrote him a letter, but is Tony that forgiving?
I think after this, Captain America supposedly gets killed by the Red Skull while he's on trial.
Oh.
And then several people toy with the idea of taking up the mantle of Captain America. The Punisher even does it for a little bit. Falcon does it. Captain America ends up coming back. But the first thing I remember really seeing when Captain America came back is he and Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, and a bunch of other people became a group called the Illuminati. And they discovered that all of the realities that existed were crashing into each other, and it was going to destroy everything.
Oh, that's kind of like the Thor movie.
They managed to go find the Infinity Gauntlet, and the only person they trusted to use it was Captain America. So they give Captain America the Infinity Gauntlet and get him to try to disperse everything. He succeeds, but when he does, the Infinity Gauntlet, all of the gems explode and are destroyed. And they're like, whoa, what the crap happened? So they didn't want Captain America to remember anything about what had happened because he didn't agree with doing it. But, you know, he was like, oh, God, we're going to have to tell everybody. And they were like, nope, no, you're not. And Doctor Strange wipes his memory.
Oh.
Well, when, like, everything's good because, I mean, you know, Captain America was dead for a while. And when he comes back, bygones will be bygones. Then they had a story called Original Sin where something happened and all the heroes across Earth suddenly had this vision of something that had happened. And Captain America's vision was he remembered everything that they had wiped from his memory. And he was like, holy crap, they erased my memory. Sons of bitches. And so then he and Iron Man begin a fight again.
Of course.
And then something happens that stops it. And they, like, I don't know, it just kind of went to crap at that point.
Okay, I actually commented.
Okay. Yes. The Sokovian Accords were the whole premise for Civil War. Tony wanted to sign, Captain America didn't, hence Civil War.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay, see, I'm glad that you clarified because I wasn't really reading enough into that first comment to realize what you were trying to say. But I get it. I get it now. But yeah, they brought those. I also thought it was neat to see Thunderbolt Ross as the Secretary of State in this movie. And we haven't seen him since he was a general in The Incredible Hulk. Because I knew he looked familiar. Mm-hmm. And I probably still wouldn't have noticed if we hadn't watched Incredible Hulk, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, that's
and now I'm like, oh, it was him. I remember him now. Because when we watched Civil War last time, it had been 3 years since I'd seen the movie. Yeah. And I knew the guy looked familiar, but I couldn't remember who he was. And I don't think I was paying enough attention. I'm horrible with names and stuff like that.
Right.
So when they said Ross, it just never...
But it did this time.
Yeah, it did this time. And I was like, oh, look.
I'm sorry.
But yes, so what are we giving this movie?
Sarah?
11. I love this movie.
Yeah, I'm giving it 11 too.
I do.
11. I'm going to give it an 11.
What's your favorite part?
I don't know.
I know. So many.
I don't know. The whole battle scene at the airport, it's
That's a really good
there's just so much going on there, and it's,
I pretty much like any scene that I can see Bucky in action. So.
Yeah, for me, I love the battle scene, obviously. It's one of my favorite scenes, and it is probably my favorite scene in all of them. If I had to pick another one, I would probably say the scene where Tony goes and actually recruits Peter.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
Because
yeah.
And he's
between
like, I'm gonna tell Aunt May, you gotta do it.
well, like I say, like whenever I heard that Marissa Tomei was gonna be playing his aunt, I was like, holy crap! Like she's way too young. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if Peter is only like 15 or 16,
Makes sense.
and you know his parents would have been what in their late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless
Or
they
maybe
just waited
late
late in
40s.
life, you know.
But holy crap, Marissa Tomei is like in her late 40s, early 50s, and like she's almost a little old for the role, because I really think that was the one bad thing about like how Stan Lee and like Steve Ditko, the guys who originally created Spider-Man, they made his aunt way too old in the comics, or even in like the original
Maybe
movies.
it's his great aunt. I
In
don't
the
know.
TV show, I thought
It was
he
always, I think, Peter's mother's sister. Or wait, no.
In
It
the
wasn't
TV
his.
show, wasn't his grandmother?
No, Aunt
Or
May.
just an older.
May wasn't blood related to him. His uncle Ben was Ben Parker, who was Peter's dad's brother, and then his wife May. God, I can't believe I messed that up.
But just because that's the uncle don't mean he can't be really old. I mean, I'm just saying.
I just remember an older lady in the TV show that he lived with.
Yeah, she was like looked like she was in her 70s, and like just canon always has been, you know, that she is the wife of Peter's what paternal uncle.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, the characters in Civil War who make cameos in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 2. Sorry, I'm fangirling. Haha. And Ashley's a big Bucky fan too.
You know, at this point, who isn't a big Bucky fan?
Pretty much.
I mean, he's almost like, you know, you've got Thor, who I think he's kind of like a pompous ass. You've got.
I
mean,
Thor.
I'm looking for flaws in the top three. You've got Thor, who's got that full of himself mentality. You've got
Just a little bit, but really, he's got an excellent heart.
Tony Stark.
He does.
Tony
Yeah.
Stark's full of himself.
Yeah.
He's way too full of himself. Like, there's a reason Pepper Potts hasn't been in the last 3 or 4 movies he's been in, because she's. It's almost like there's trouble in paradise.
She's really tired of shit.
Think she's gone?
I don't think she's gone, but she had to just. I mean, if you had to deal with all his issues all the time, and
He's
then
a
he's
lot
not
to
willing to
handle.
help himself, that's tolling on somebody.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm sure she probably spends a lot of time with
Remember,
away
they
from.
couldn't even have a dinner together because there's always something going on.
yeah, they rarely had time to themselves.
You remember the time when, like, he was in the suit, and then come to find out he
Yeah.
wasn't in the suit?
Yeah, that's the part I was thinking
Yeah.
about. Because he never has time.
But yeah, I really do think that there's like trouble in paradise there. I think really the big thing was Gwyneth Paltrow's like contract negotiation, but it really offered a really good opportunity to illustrate the relationship problems between him. And they've addressed it, because at that little MIT briefing he was given to all the students, where he was like funding all their projects at the beginning of the movie, the teleprompter actually said, "I'd like to introduce to you the CEO or whatever, Pepper Potts."
And she wasn't there.
And he didn't say it because she wasn't there. So that's got to say something.
How is their relationship in the comics? I can't remember. if
I don't
they
read
said
enough
this or-
Iron Man to be able to give a educated answer on that.
See, you're supposed to know this, so.
I was always
Can I
under the
ask a
impression in the
question?
comics like they were one of those things that never really
yeah,
materialized.
I was fixing to
Okay.
say that's
Yeah.
what I've always heard is like in the comics they never really went anywhere.
Like that, you knew there was something there, but neither one of them ever acted on it. They were more like really, really like just, you know, fun friends, and she took care of him. That's, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
I think it was more like she had a thing for him, but he was too stupid to see it.
Maybe.
That's
I think that's kind of where it went.
I just know it never developed. I don't know the details.
I don't know. All right, well, we've given
Let's
our
wrap.
reviews and everything. Awesome movie. Awesome. Well, and again, a perfect 33 from the crew of Untitled Nerd Network. Join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We'll have Ashley here as a guest. We'll be playing Super Mario Kart 8 on the Nintendo Switch. First time we've ever played the Switch on the channel. And also a little bit of Little Big Planet 3, hanging out. Heck, I might even have a glass of whiskey. Who knows? No, I probably won't. Oh, God, the thought of it almost makes me sick.
Really?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody have a good rest of the night. We'll be back on tomorrow night, Saturday Night Crew. And then, we may be on at some point early tomorrow with that Westworld finale.
Yeah. I am totally down for that.
When are we doing that, y'all?
I don't know. I've got to take my car at 1 o'clock.
Okay, so we're looking at
So
probably
we'll see what all goes on with that.
late afternoon, early evening, maybe the mid-evening, early to mid.
Definitely need a drink.
Late evening.
Shut up. Please.
Stay tuned. I'm not even going to schedule it. We'll just pop up and it'll be a surprise. I'm Lonnie.
I'm Aberlicious.
I'm Single Sarah.
And we are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux out of Hickson, Tennessee. And this has been our review of Captain America Civil War, 2016 Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we're getting one step closer to Infinity War. Yay. We'll see everybody tomorrow night for Saturday Night Crew and the Westworld finale.